Okay, so for this part of your project, you should have all of your ornaments painted with your watercolor, and you should have your pack of colored pencils that I sent home with you. And in the last two videos, I showed you how to use a regular pencil to shade a circle to look like kind of like a ball or a sphere. And then in the second video, I showed you how to, do the same thing but with multiple spheres. So you're going to apply the same skill for your project, except this time instead of using a pencil, we're going to be using the colored pencils. So what's going to happen is you can kind of do this row by row if you want, if that will help you out. And what I'm going to start with is this bulb here was painted orange with the watercolor. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my orange colored pencil. So I mentioned orange with orange. And where this yellow bulb is overlapping my orange bulb, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add the shading to that area. Okay, and I'm going to press pretty hard. And I'm just going to take my colored pencil right over top of that watercolor. Your watercolor should be dry when you do this, because if you try to do it while the watercolor is wet, you're just going to end up coloring a hole through your paper, because when the paper is wet, it makes it, easier to tear, which is not what we want. So along here, where that yellow bulb is overlapping my orange bulb, I'm going to go back in and color over top of it to create that shading. Now, this orange bulb here is also behind my blue bulb. So where these two are touching, I also need to add some shading. So where that blue bulb is touching the orange bulb, I'm going to go back in and color in that part too. Okay, and I'm pressing pretty hard because I really want that color to show up. And this is just going to show some shading to show what is overlapping. Okay, so I have that. And because it's kind of like sitting at the bottom of the pile, I'm going to do a little bit of shading down along the bottom. I'm not going to press as hard as I did here, but I am going to add some shading along the bottom, just to show that it's kind of sitting down there. It's sitting on top of something. Okay, and I'm going to keep moving on to my next bulbs. So my blue one is in front of my orange bulb and my green bulb. So I don't have to do any shading right now on the blue one. So I'm going to move on to my green bulb. So here's my green bulb, and you can see based on this line, it's being overlapped by my blue bulb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my green colored pencil, and right where that blue bulb is touching my green bulb, I'm going to go back in with my green colored pencil, and I'm going to add some shading there. This is going to help things, be able to tell where things are overlapping and be able to get that shading there. And I'm just really going in heavy with that green. I'm making it dark. I'm pressing down on my pencil kind of hard to make sure I get that. If you're not able to press down really hard, you can go back over it and do layers and layers of colored pencil, if that's going to help you out. And then, along the bottom here, I'm going to do some shading as well from where it's sitting down there. So I'm not going to do as much shading or as hard of a shading as I did along this side. I'm just going to do some there along the bottom and try to keep with that circular shape. You don't want your shading to go straight across. Okay, now I'm going to move up to my next bulb up here in row 2. So again, I got another orange bulb. Okay, so I'm going to take my orange colored pencil. Now this bulb is being touched by the white bulb, the blue bulb, and my green one. So I gotta do a lot of shading around all of these areas where these bulbs are overlapping. So I'm gonna just start up here. I'm just gonna do the orange right over top. I'm just gonna follow along that line where things are touching. So I'm going to follow along this line here of the white bulb. I'm going to go around this topper of my blue bulb. It's going to keep coming down in between this green and this blue bulb and go back up towards the topper of my green bulb. Okay, and I'm just going to keep going around and adding the colored pencil where things are touching and things are overlapping. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of go back through and I'm going to lighten up some pressure with the orange colored pencil so that there's still some shading, but it's not as dark as what I did right against those lines. So you should be able to tell, you know, maybe between a dark orange and then the light orange and then the actual orange of your watercolor. And then I'm just going to move on to my next bulb. So my next bulb is actually a white one. I did one solid white. So what I'll need to do for that is I'll get my black colored pencil and I'll go back in and where it's touching the other bulbs and the other bulb toppers, I'm going to do some shading in there. And for the most part, you'll just match up the color of your bulb with the colored pencils that you have. So if you did a green painted bulb, you're going to use your green colored pencil. Okay, if you did a blue colored bulb, you're going to use your blue colored pencil. This white one that I did with the black shading. Okay, and then like this teal colored one up here, I know it's a little bit different. I don't actually have a teal colored pencil, but I could use my blue on that one, since blue and green are what make that color. So everywhere that this red and green striped bulb is, I can go back in, add my shading with the black colored pencil for my white bulb. And this is just to show shading, just to show that something's overlapping something else. And then go back in where things are, you know, the lines are actually touching, stuff like that. I'm going to go back in and really darken those in. Especially where I have like two bulbs overlapping this one bulb. Now, if you have a bulb that has a design on it, okay, so like say this purple one that is here, and where the design is, you've got two different colors. I've got like a light purple and I have a dark purple here. If you have two different colors, say like this one, then you would use the red for the red parts of the shading, and you would use the green color pencil for the green parts of shading. For the purple one, you know, you could use the purple on the polka dot parts where it's overlapping. So let me find my purple color pencil. So it's right here. So where my orange and this white bulb are overlapping, like the purple color pencil, I can go back in and, you know, I can make that dark. If it's hard to see the colored pencil because of the paint and everything else, you can use the analogous color, the color that's side by side on that color from the color wheel, to go back in and add, you know, some more contrast to it. So on here, I'll kind of finish this part up really quick where this red bulb is touching this polka dotted one. And you're just going to go right over top of that watercolor. That's why I said make sure it's dry. Okay, now some of these areas are not showing up very well against that dark. So I'll take my blue colored pencil and maybe just where the polka dots are, I can go over where that shading is done, just in those dark colored polka dots, with my blue, and then add some shading right over top of that purple. So I'm just layering up those colored pencils. I'm just helping to make that shading just a little bit darker. I'm going to go back to my purple color pencil and kind of take that shading up a little bit more into my bulb. And this one I'm doing a little bit lighter pressure, so it's not as an intense purple. Should be able to tell a difference between the two different types of shading, even if you're using the same color pencil. It's going to help to create these bulbs and make them look round, which is what we want to do. So if I go back to this bulb here with the green and the red, so where it's touching, this yellow bulb on this red part, I can go back in just on the red stripe and use my red color pencil to create the shading from where it's touching there. Then I'll take my green colored pencil, and over the green areas where they're kind of coming in contact and overlapping on the green sections, I'm going to take my green colored pencil. Make sure you stay inside the lines of your drawing. Okay, now where this yellow bulb is overlapping this green one on these green parts. So if you've got multiple colors painted on your bulbs, you'll have to use multiple colors when it comes to your color pencils and kind of stick with that. And then you'll just keep moving along until all of your bulbs have been shaded.